Welcome to Mental Health News Radio, the original podcast of the Mental Health News Radio Network. I'm your host, Kristen Sunanta Walker. I have been hosting this show for over 15 years, and over time, it's evolved from traditional interviews into something I like a lot better, real, free-flowing conversations. On this network and on my own shows, we have multiple hosts and voices across mental health, trauma, and addiction recovery, each bringing their own lived experience and expertise. Some of our most listened to conversations right now center around neurodivergence, including my own late diagnosis of autism and ADHD, along with many other topics that shape how we understand mental health today. I'm also a writer and mental health advocate, which I talk about here and across the network. I'm really glad you're here. Let's get into the conversations. Hi, everyone. Kristen here. I'm with Jeff Thompson and my friend Julie Rains. And probably by the end of this, Jeff will be our friend too. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here.
Good. Now, I want you, since you are the guest, I want you to tell everyone what you do, because yesterday I did a show with someone and we got to that about halfway in and I went, oh, you need to tell everybody who you are, because we were off in the land of liminal conversation. So please, before we get going, Jeff, please tell everyone.
Absolutely. So I'll just give a quick run through from the very beginning. And I always like to say that I came into this life with a smack in the face immediately telling me that something was wrong. And that is going to kindergarten 3 times. So I knew from the very beginning that I was different, but at the time I thought that different was bad. And over the course of going to kindergarten 3 times, I was diagnosed with ADHD, hyperactivity. They diagnosed me with a learning disability, a couple years of special ed. Then I got diagnosed with retardation in the 3rd grade. I had an IQ of like 38. And back then, that was an actual diagnosis. And so again, all these things just kept telling me that I'm wrong, something's wrong with me. And that lasted for a couple of years. And I got kicked out of school. They sent me to a children's home. And that didn't last very long. Got kicked out of there. I eventually just dropped out of high school and really went into life without a clue of what mental health was. I didn't know it was a word. I never knew there was anxiety. I never knew all these things. So I just kind of went through facing things and blaming myself for everything that ever took place. But I carried that chip on my shoulder into life, which was me against everyone else. And it led me to be really successful. I own businesses in the construction industry. I raised an amazing family. My kids are now 29 and 30, by far the best 2 things that have ever happened to me. And to date, the only 2 things that I did right. But nonetheless, went through life. Obviously, I had some hospitalizations, had more diagnoses. And my really full circle was being diagnosed late, obviously, with autism about 3 years ago. And the weird part was at the time, I thought I had what everybody labeled success. Whatever people put a label to success, I had those things and was absolutely miserable. And when I got diagnosed, it was one of the most amazing things that have ever happened to me in my life, because I was somebody that always hated myself. Everything was my fault. I did all this and all this because I'm stupid and I'm this and I'm this. And that's what schools and pretty much everyone around me had told me for my entire life. So why would it be any different? And when I got diagnosed with autism, aside from crying and going through a lot of different emotions, it was the first time in my life that I acknowledged that I'm not stupid. There's really actually nothing wrong with me. I was just not put into the right group of people that thought differently. And that diagnosis of autism, I mean, it was just one word. It's like, okay, the bipolar, the dyslexia, the OCD, like all these things, like really? And then they gave me one word. It was autism. And all those other diagnoses were gone. And now I just have one thing. And I was so happy and strangely just content with like, okay, that's all I've been searching for my entire life, was just the what. And at that time was flying around the world, super successful. And I went through a complete burnout / complete loss of executive function for like the 5th or 6th time in my life, at the same time that I got the diagnosis of autism. And it basically I reevaluated my life and I said, none of this means anything to me. I want to do something. And more importantly, selfishly, honestly, from a therapeutic standpoint, I've figured out that my medicine is helping other people. That is my therapy. That is my medicine. I don't need to go to a doctor. Well, I probably do medicine. I don't need to go to a therapist. I just need to help people. And when I realized that was actually making me feel like really good, because I never thought I was of use to anyone until I realized I had information that helps people because I've already struggled with these things. And so for the last 3 years, my life has really just kind of went in a different direction. I walked away from corporate America. I left on top. And from there, I decided to open up a clinic for children with autism. And I did that because the ABA, strangely enough, when I went to the children's home as a kid, I recognized the therapies that they did back then to what ABA is today. So I thought, oh man, they were actually trying to teach this stuff to me when I was a child. And I just look at these people walking around, myself included, and I think to myself, these people are not going to walk around for long. They're not going to last long in life unless other people are able to help them. And so on one hand, I didn't want children to grow up like myself. I didn't want them to struggle through all of the craziness. And so that was my purpose for doing the clinic for children with autism. But the bigger purpose is that a bigger platform where, okay, that's great, all of the children with autism. But what about the millions and millions of late diagnosed? What about the millions of women who aren't even diagnosed yet, don't even know yet? All these people need help too. And they need experience help. They need life experience help. They don't need a therapist. They need somebody that's gone through it, can speak openly about it, and can talk them through that. And so that's really what led to this conversation today. Just that lifetime of kind of a little bit of everything, but ultimately the same message, which is for 40 plus years, something was wrong with me and everything I did was wrong. And then I just had autism, and all of a sudden things started making sense, and my life didn't get easier, but it got better because I understood and I forgave myself. It's the only time in my life I've ever forgiven myself. And so that's kind of a longer bio, but that's really what led to the conversation today. And that's kind of a snapshot of how I got here.
Fantastic. Julie, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and why you sent Jeff's profile to me and said, you got to look at this guy's stuff.
I noticed, well, about me, I also have been more recently diagnosed with ADHD and autism. And again, there are several parallels in my experience with what Jeff's gone through. And through his TikTok, he openly expresses so many of his experiences. And I can't say how many times that I sat there saying, oh, me too. When I was young, I was struggling in school in certain areas, fine motor skills, math, but it was never quite identified early. They did this testing and told my parents that there's nothing wrong with her. Her IQ is high. We're putting her in this class once a week with other kids that are like her, and she'll do great. There's no reason for her to struggle. And yet I struggled, and nobody could determine why. By the time I was fourth grade, they actually tested me for ADHD, which really wasn't done back then, especially for females. So that's how obvious it was that I was struggling with something, despite supposed high intelligence. And I was diagnosed, and they tried to put me on, I think back then it was Ritalin was the only option.
Yeah.
And I responded negatively to it. And so my mom took me off of it, brought me back to the doctor, and they said, maybe we misdiagnosed you. Maybe you don't have ADHD. You're very intelligent. There's no reason you should struggle. And so that was the belief that my parents had, and so the teachers had. And so there was absolutely no excuse for me not to thrive and excel. So again, the same story, the same underlying self-criticism kind of ran my life for a long time. And eventually, I had testing again, actually very similar to Jeff as well. I had about 3 years ago, my life kind of crumbled, and I didn't. Normally you respond by rising up or by working harder or by improving yourself. And instead, my functionality was going down. It was like I was losing skills to the point where I could barely take care of myself. And so I got another test done. I saw a psychiatrist, profound depression, suicidal ideation, and she did more testing, and I got the autism diagnosis. So that was profound. And it wasn't long after that I actually started seeing Jeff's videos. And I mean, his cause, what he's doing with his life, his service forward. I just kept watching for the last year, and I admire what he's doing. And that's why I brought it forward to you.
Well, good. I mean, I was already following, but I go into places like TikTok and then I'm out because I took during COVID, I went, that's it. I'm done with social media. I can't do it anymore. And then I found TikTok in like June of last year. And I'm like, this is not like other social media. This is completely different. All the weirdos hang out on
It
TikTok.
is
I love it.
awesome. I actually was surprised at how many amazing people I've connected with through TikTok.
Hey,
Really,
that's how you and I
really,
connected
it
even.
is. Yeah, it's
Yep.
all actually the three of us. That's the link.
Yeah.
It's TikTok.
And there's
Yeah.
something to do with this, all the people that are coming together and me revamping my network and doing some other shows. All of us have some same common things. Late diagnosed, within the last 3 or 4 years, millennial to Gen X and some boomers, right?
Yes.
And all of us technically inclined, a little more technology inclined. So it's kind of interesting how I've done some studies on this already, but Jeff, I wanted to ask you, me being in the autism field, which I had no idea about myself for 9 years, but whatever. There is controversy around ABA. And I've done shows on either side of that coin. So let's let that not be the elephant in the room. Talk about that a little bit.
I would love to, because this is something that everybody is, on one side or the other, and the divide is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I always kind of explain it in two ways. First of all, I was fortunate enough to, prior to opening the clinic for children with autism, I was doing consulting with autism companies. And so okay, I'm sorry, Julie, just remind me just give me the question one more time. I just forgot it.
Oh, that what?
Oh, the ABA. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Now I got it. So on one hand, I was around these clinics for 2 to 3 years over the process of doing the consulting. And I was there long enough to experience children that went from nonverbal to verbal. I saw children that couldn't say, I love you or hi, mom. And then next thing you know, 6 months later, hi, mom, I love you. And they're giving them a hug. So from the grassroots, I really saw the infrastructure of what this can actually do. The flip side of that is ABA has been the same thing for so long. And I think what I would say is, for the people that are against ABA today, is that ABA today is not what ABA is yesterday. And I can understand, based on how the ABA Foundation started and some of the things that they started doing, why people would have objection to a lot of those things. But ABA has advanced so much more from a community standpoint and a really just community outings. Like, it used to just be in a clinic, you'd have a room and this is what you do. Now you take kids into the community, you teach them how to go to a laundromat or go to a post office, or like real world skills. So I like to say that as long as you've got a good ABA company that is advancing and looking forward, you're in good shape. But if you have an ABA company that's been doing the same thing the same way for a very long time, they don't want to change, that is a company that's not doing anything for our industry. And so I understand the objections. I agree with a lot of those, but I just see a different ABA today that's expanding in ways that nobody ever really saw. And unless you're inside of it, you don't really see it from the ground up. So that's kind of my insight into, I know it works because I've seen it. And also I went through some of this training as a child and I didn't like it, but it did work. It worked on me. So I've seen this so many times. Like, I've just seen the successes. And when you've seen so many successes.
In my professional history, I taught and I was the administrator of a private school that was for students with developmental disabilities. And the majority of them had autism and were affected in various different ways. And our mission statement, it summarized, it had ABA, and I learned it. But when I was in it, I found myself just veering wherever I had to. So you do what you have to do. And we kind of were off script. But even doing that, we had one student who was nonverbal coming in, and the day I left, he was reading from a book out loud. So again, there are definitely ways to maximize capabilities and to continue working with them. Again, I don't have a strong opinion either way with ABA. I see people who have benefited from it, and I've seen some who say that it harmed them. And again, I think it's individual, right? Who responds to what. And I think it's important to have various different options because we're all different, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
it
my
is
2 cents on ABA.
and it is the person's intention behind it. I mean, a lot of these things came in, then they became profitable, and then things just stayed stagnant. Nothing grew with the times. I mean, we used to call autism Asperger's, and that's now like
Yeah.
a big no,
Yes.
don't do that. And people are very attached to that, that was their diagnosis because like you, Jeff, I mean, and I don't know how you felt, Julie, but when I finally, I don't know, I don't know what happened, but I just went, I'm going to test myself for autism. Nobody said anything to me, and I did. And every test I took online was like, yep.
Mhm.
And I had already done the ADHD or the ADHD tests. I'd done them on shows with someone
Yeah.
else who was very upset. This best-selling, multiple time
Yeah.
best-selling author was like, I'm going to get a higher score than you. And I'm like, no, you won't. And he did.
The last thing that I want to throw out on the ABA is that I believe in early intervention, like big time. And I believe if you're getting these children in an early intervention, your success rate is high. But the older those kids get, the less that ABA program becomes effective. And I've heard a lot of people that are teenagers or in their 20s and they're going through ABA, they don't like it. And that's not necessarily what ABA is structured for.
Right.
And so there's a clean break between what it's being used for and the people that are also trying to use it. And they are because there's no other solution for late diagnosis. Like, what do you do? It's like, oh, they send you the ABA, but it's not an adult program. That's life skills. And so I'm against people that are pushing it to the older programs because I think that's just a life skills program. So as long as you have the right clientele and you have the early intervention, you're going to have a lot of success.
I saw this in schools. I was always with a therapy dog going to schools, and I was in the bad kids classrooms,
Yeah.
right? All the kids with autism and everything, right? And and ABA clearly was being, that was part of the curriculum in those classrooms. And I remember sitting there watching different things, these are my boundaries. This is my bubble. This is your bubble. And then every week that Miles, my dog Miles, was coming with me, we go to the calendar and we put it on just all of these things. And I went, oh my gosh, because I would see those kids year after
Yep.
year and just see completely different kids not shut down when like they were when I first came in. And I couldn't even tap someone on the knee without them freaking out. And at the end of the year, I'm getting hugs. So I understood some of the people saying, oh, it just turns them into robots. It's making kids try to fit into society. No, I don't see it that way. I think it's helping you with life skills to come out of your shell. Thank goodness I went to Montessori school because I think that world was all about go and try this, try what works for you, try these exercises. It was so much more choice and soft choice involved. And to me, that looked like the ABA therapy going on in those classrooms with the kids where I had my dog in there to it wasn't about me. It was about the thing on the leash. That's what all these.
I agree. I would agree with that 100%. Yeah. And also like my one sentence answer is always, listen, we're going to teach kids to live the best life that they can live with the skills that they have. That's it. All we're doing is teach them the best life that they can have with the skills that they have. And that's what we're doing. We're just highlighting their strengths because we all grew up with something was wrong with us.
Yes.
And that obviously doesn't translate well into life. If these kids, if we can just flip that around and they're like, oh man, this is cool. I'm good at this. Just a couple things to focus the attention on the positive, not the negative. But nonetheless, we could talk ABA all day long because there will always be more to add. But it's very interesting. And like I said, it's one of those things where I get a lot of objections from people. I don't even push back. I mean, you think what you think and you've thought it for a long time. And I'm not going to say anything to change that other than come and look at what we're doing. Let the experience and let the success show the answers. Like, don't ask me, ask our children, ask our RBTs, like ask our parents. They're the ones that will tell you.
And what's great is, I mean, when we do things with this late diagnosis and we go discover our passion and we unmask and we go through that whole process, which is like the vision quest, Aboriginal walk, all of it is that, right, for each of us. Yeah. You're so used to hearing about how what you're doing is wrong that you're kind of like, whatever, I'm going to do it anyway.
Doesn't mean anything to me. 48 straight years I've been, yep.
So that's good. We just get used to it. I mean, we're so profoundly sensitive. That's what's so funny. We are so profoundly sensitive. And yet we're also like, I'm walking around with a bunch of arrows in my back. I've had that my whole life. I just keep plucking them out and keep going.
I know it. I just wish people could see that. I wish there was a way. It's like, I'll give you an example. Somebody's got a Harvard MBA, right? Well, okay, they got an MBA from Harvard. that comes with expectations. They must be smart. They must be this. They must be this. I wish there was that definition for autism. Not, oh, they must be this. No, they're autistic. Oh, they must have great pattern recognition. They must be great with this. They
That would
like
be
That's how
wonderful.
we see it,
That's how
right?
we see
well,
it,
in
yeah.
my world, that is what the future is. It
Yes.
is you see it and you understand it. Because for me, these people walking around late diagnosed, or these are the, I mean, these are the high performers. These are the people that people want. They just can't filter and find those people because they don't check certain boxes. So I would like that to be a badge of honor, and like walking around, oh, you're late diagnosed, like immediate respect, because it's like, oh shit,
Oh
you're
yeah,
a
you've been
survivor.
raw dogging your whole
You're a
freaking
survivor. Okay, I
Yeah.
can relate to that.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful thing. And then you put people together that have the same similar survivals, and it's like,
It's like
wow, you can just talk. You can
Yes.
just talk and have a conversation without even thinking about, do I need to mask? Do I need to say this? You can just speak freely because you know you're not being judged. And unfortunately, you can't do that in the real world. You will be judged today, but hopefully going forward, the judgment will lessen.
Let's talk about more about your journey. So, how did it go in your personal relationships when you found this out? Like, what happened that you're comfortable sharing in your life? I mean, I've talked about how mine, 90% of the people I hung with, those relationships got detonated. What was it
Yeah.
like for you?
Well, because I grew up like this, I was always very guarded. So I was never just going to shake your hand and trust you and assume that you're not going to try to do something bad to me. And I go into everything expecting somebody to do something bad, expecting somebody to take advantage of it. And so, unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of great relationships. I have a great relationship with my family, and everybody always says it's like, well, aren't you mad at them? Aren't you mad at them? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
this is 40 years ago. Nobody knew shit 40
No
years
one
ago.
knew.
Right.
Nobody knew anything. I'm not mad at my parents. I mean, at least they kept taking me to psychiatrists, and they were trying
They
to do things.
tried. Yeah.
But that's the opposite. Nowadays, everyone's like, oh, I hate my parents. They did this and they did this. And that might be true, but you also might need to let go of that and all of a sudden just start living your life. But I got married early. I was I think 19 at the time. And I got
Yeah,
married
that's
because
young.
I had
Yeah,
a
I was
child.
19 too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then you know that life just starts and you just go. You don't think about what you want to be or what you're going to do. You have
Exactly.
a family and you have to work. And so I was an entrepreneur from the very beginning. And that's really all that kind of chip on my shoulder. But, it's funny. I was married for 15 years. This is going to sound horrible. I don't know that I ever had one real conversation with my ex-wife. And it wasn't because I was holding back. Quite honestly, I couldn't verbally emotionally communicate until I was in my 40s. And I was completely emotionally nonverbal as a child. Nobody understands what that means. The minute you say nonverbal, they assume you can't speak. No. I could speak fluently. I just couldn't emotionally communicate. I couldn't tell you anything that was happening inside.
Right.
And it was just all silent. And so it's crazy one day to wake up and think I've gone through so much of my life and I basically just not lied, but masked. And I've never let anybody meet me. Because why would I? They're just going to judge me. They're going to hate me for this. They're going to tell me this is wrong. And that's always been the cycle. But in the last several years, I think I've had the best relationships that I've ever had. And I'm still really challenging to like be a friend to, because I don't communicate regularly. I don't respond regularly. I communicate based on my mental health schedule, which is some days good and some days bad. And so people take offense. It's like, oh, you didn't respond. Okay, if that's going to be you and I aren't going to talk because I may not respond for a week. But later in life, fortunately, I was able to develop some really good friendships, relationships that I still have, and they're real. And I don't think I had one childhood friend growing up, and it's the only actual friend I ever had growing up. I couldn't name a second name of 8, 12 or however many it is. I got one friend, and we communicate now. And it's funny, we had a conversation, and he was like, now that I'm watching your videos, I'm thinking back to the childhood, all of the weird things you did, like just watching commercials for 24 hours straight, just because I wanted to time, how much time was actual show versus the commercials. I want to know the percentages with just weird stuff. And he's like, I don't even know how you weren't diagnosed autistic. And I said, that's because I got the other diagnosis, retardation, IQ of 38. So relationships have always been really hard. It's hard for me to let people in. I'm just so used to being, I don't know the word, but it's gotten better later in life.
Well, when I went to a friend of mine who I do another show with, we do a show about movies and neurodivergence. And I did a whole thing about Dune 1 and Dune 2, the newest version, and what all that means in terms of autism. It was so fun. And the woman that does it, Dr. Stephanie Holmes, she's become a good friend. And when I told her about my diagnosis, she went, because she's way into, that field, obviously. And she went, yeah, oh yeah, now I can see that. She goes, so my first question to you is, how's your love life been? Has it been like a dumpster fire? I was like, yes.
And,
And
and
now
it's
it's not, but I mean, it was horrible.
because you couldn't
Wow.
communicate.
I
You
was
probably
I
couldn't
was dating
express
the same
anything.
person over and over again. Like, but I didn't see it, but like I was just kept repeating the same relationship until I saw it, right?
Yeah.
And
Takes a long
now,
time.
yeah, then we change it.
It takes a long time, but ultimately you can never find that relationship unless you are unmasked and you're able to actually have a
You have a
one-on-one
relationship with
conversation.
yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
I was talking to someone yesterday who's also on TikTok, and I was like, I just don't, in terms of a relationship now, when I think about going on that journey, because it's so heavily pressured, right? Oh, you're not supposed to be single. You're not supposed to be this. And I'm like, oh my God, enough with all that.
Mhm.
I'm sure one day I will go down that road. I'm not saying no to that, but right now I am so in love with the relationship with myself finally, after not wanting to be alive for how many years, that I'm like, I don't want to give up any room to anybody else
No.
now. I'm just I'm
no,
discovering this, that I'm like, oh, I don't, and just now I'm letting more people come in, because whenever I usually have a lot of people around all the time that I'm not really friends with, but I'm performing, right? I'm
yeah,
building something and they want to be involved or whatever. And that was fine until it wasn't. And now people are coming in and I'm coming from this unmasked place. It's so much richer, but I'm also, like I said to Julie, I'm learning how to people again from this new place.
That's same. And I'm in the same place. Learning how to people again. I'm not worried about dating. It's peopling and forming a
Exactly.
basis of community, right? Which I think that's essential for
Us
mental health for
especially.
us. Yes.
Yeah. That's why people are like calling me going, can I just show up on your lawn? And I'm like, okay, I have to practice boundaries. No, but we can talk about that.
that's fun.
Because they do. I just had people, as Julie knows, on my lawn in the backyard. And I was like, I looked at my mom and I went, this is so weird. We have had 3 years of like the trees and the animals. And so when I say hi to at the grocery store, and now my lawn is full of people. It was
Not a bad thing.
fantastic, but it's also like, ooh, right. Okay, this is peopling from this place. How
Yeah,
interesting.
it's hard. You got to want to take part in that. Like you got to want to take part in that. I don't always want to take part in that, but I mean, I just like what do you call it? What do they call that? It's the chit chat. Is that chit chat?
Yeah, but
Is
there's
that
no chit-chatting with
No,
neurodivergent people. Oh my
no, who
God. We
said
went on
that?
so many spirals. We were like on the universe and there were people that were quiet and then they chimed in for a second. You're like, yeah, they're paying attention, but they don't talk as much because, some of us are like, blah, 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 blah. So
one of the really opening things in my life is, again, I always knew that I was different, but I was, an entrepreneur from the earliest stage
same
because
here.
I
Yeah.
never had time to get a job. I just had a family I had to pay. So I did things. And I never had a job. I never had a boss. I never worked for anybody. I never had to work in an office. And so it wasn't until I think probably 5 or 6 years ago, my company had relocated me from like California to their corporate headquarters in Florida. And I'm like, okay, this is great. And that was the first time I'd ever worked in an office. That's when I knew something was really wrong with me. When I worked around other people,
Yeah.
I had never had to have those chit chat conversations. I never had to
Those are
say, oh,
hard.
so what'd you do this weekend?
Yeah.
What'd you I never had to do any of that. And next thing you know, I'm in this office with all these people
It's
who are
horrible.
normal, asking
like a
normal
script.
questions, want normal things. And I'm like, I would get mad. It's like they stopped me in the hallway. I felt so bad. It's like, oh, how was your weekend? And I'm just like, do you fucking care? Like,
Right.
really? And I came off so rude, but I could not.
No.
I can mask everywhere else, but I could not do it. And the more I was there, the more different I felt because I always thought other people were this or that. But when I worked around them, I was like, wow, me and them are not alike at all. And that was part of the whole blow up of just like, oh, this is too much. I can't do this. I can do the job. I can't do the fake.
You do it until you can't, right? That mask, it serves us for a while, but there comes a point where it's like you hit a wall and that mask is not staying on. Like I remember mine falling off and I went to extremes to try and pick it back up and hold it on my face. Like,
that's hard.
no, I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't let this fall. That's how I got where I am. And again, also living the version of success that we're taught to want, which made me miserable. Anyway, when it came off, it came off. There was it was
going
complete, back. Yeah. Yep. And now I can't, it's done. We're done. Thank goodness.
I was really fortunate. A few years back, I was, we talk about suicidal ideation, ideation. Suicide ideation.
It's suicidal ideation.
Ideation.
Oh God, I got both words wrong. That's okay.
Hey, it's okay.
That's okay.
I do it every day.
About this, and I had a conversation with my nephew. He's like 17. He's clearly neurodivergent on the spectrum and doesn't know it yet. And I was like giving him a wake up conversation. Like, listen, you need to go into life understanding who you are, and you need to know that you're different. Otherwise, people are going to take advantage of you because you're gonna think that they feel as much as you do, and they don't. And we had this whole conversation. But one of the things I also told him is that, listen, you need to understand that your life cycle is going to have a lot of suicidal ideation, and you don't even know it yet, but it's part of the profile that you have. It's going to happen. And for me, I've gone through that. I mean, I tried to do that 3 times. And then the last time I was actually out of the country, and I just decided I again, just burnout and all these things at one time, which was too much. And I tried to, take my own life again. And I had a friend in California, and she had owned some clinics, and they did what's called transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they went a little step further, where they actually did a brain scan, and then your transmedial magnetic stimulation was personalized to your brain. Nice. And the first time they did the scan on my brain, I sat with this doctor. I cried. And he says, Jeff, listen, I want to have a conversation with you. I just want to tell you what I see. I don't want to ask you any questions. I want to tell you what I see. And he started explaining my brain. And he says, first of all, I can tell that you probably haven't laughed. You haven't haven't in years. And I'm like, no, I'm numb. Like, you could stick a knife in me. I'm numb. I wouldn't even have an expression. And then he's just going through all these things. And I'm like, you can see this from my brain scan? Right. He's like, yes. And I'm like, wow. So now I actually got proof. Now I'm like, okay, this is like, and he's like, he wanted to use my brain scan for he's like, this is the craziest brain scan I've ever seen. Like, you got everything. And I said, I know. I tell people that when they say, what's wrong with you? I say, I have everything. They say, no, you don't. I say, yes, I do. But the lady in California flew me from, I don't remember where I was at in Europe, flew me to California. And the next day she put me in this cranial magnetic stimulation. And if you're not aware, this is very, very expensive therapy. She did it for free. She treated me with over $5,000 worth of transcranial magnetic stimulation. And over the course of the next 2 or 3 months, I got off about 80% of my medicine. And I will tell you this transcranial magnetic stimulation was, it was a life changer. It was really a life changer. And it made such a dramatic improvement. I immediately had feeling. In fact, I cried like 2 days later. I went back and I said, I want to be numb again. I don't want to feel again. Like, go back. Because once I started feeling, it's like, oh my, I can't do this. But it was just, fortunate to be connected with the right person at the right time. I was in distress. They flew me and took care of me. And, that's what, again, going back to the advocating for other people, I would be not alive if people didn't actively try to save my life multiple times. I really, really tried to save my life. And so I want to be that person for other people.
Is that what inspired you to do TMS treatments at Genesis?
Yeah.
That's paying it forward service.
It was. Well, first of all, not only myself, I had a veteran friend that had PTSD and all this stuff, and he went through it. I mean, I watched suicidal people. I watched kids go through this therapy, and then all of a sudden they were like fixed. And it's like, what is this? Now, my clinic, I don't have the TMS yet. I was hoping to, but it was a little bit more of an expensive venture to start with. So it's something that we want to add on. But I mention it because most people aren't familiar with that. And for somebody that's late diagnosed and has lots of different symptoms, this won't make you 100% better. This will make you 75% better. And when you're fighting for your life, 75% is the difference between waking up or not waking up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
it is.
Yeah. The number of shows that I've done on suicidal ideation, we have shows that are just about that on the network.
Well, and there should be. There should be, because it's something that we all deal with. It's just part of the profile being neurodivergent. It's like there's traits to these things. And that's happened like, 3 or 4 times in my life where I just couldn't take it anymore. And, again, somebody saved me. So I just like, I don't know why I'm alive. I mean, I don't know why I'm still here. And I just, it's got to be for something. Like it can't just be to exist. Like I can make a difference in people's lives. Like I can help, I can change without the therapies, just having a conversation with somebody. And so it gave me purpose, and with purpose, life can be fun.
Exactly. And you can actually start designing, like that's the amazing part to me that I've learned. I mean, I grew up in no religion. It was all spirituality, but my dad was an atheist. My mom was very into like science of mind and religious science and things like that. My aunt was into Scientology. That's a whole other thing. But anyway, so I was around this kind of all positive new age stuff, and I didn't understand anything else. And I would, everything that they said about manifesting and doing this and that, I thought, well, that sounds a little shallow. I can't really like get into that whole thing. But now that I've done all this work unmasking, and I've got, people don't take into account that you've been compressing for decades. So you look like you get diagnosed, you go through that wobble period where you're like, oh my God, I'm completely a deficit-based person. Oh, and then you climb out of that. Suddenly you can do almost anything, and it looks like you just like ate a pill and now magically can do stuff. No, it's all the years that you were just holding all this information that finally gets to get out there. And then I learned, oh, this is what real like manifestation is. It's getting to that place where you can actually design the way you want your life to go. And to me, that comes through acts of service, while also making sure that I'm not drowning in just being there for other people. Like I have to do the act of service for myself. Like I get the whole thing about the oxygen mask. I would hear that and be like, oh, that makes sense. Blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, oh, yeah. That is so the truth. You have to do this first. And then you have for everybody, you have stuff for everybody. And now I'm doing like hand signals. The plane lands here. Anyway, moving on. You should see all my other shows, 15 years of me going. And now I'm like, so it's so much more fun like this. And you stop caring what other people think, because again, you've heard you've been an archery target your whole life. People just shooting at you all the time. And so now I'm like, I'm going to act like this. I'm going to flail my arms about. I'm going to curse like a mad woman. I don't care anymore. Whatever. I've had every horrible thing said about me publicly and in my family. It didn't kill me. So who cares?
And you're still standing here.
And I'm still standing, and I'm still trying to not help people like I'm some kind of savior or anything, but just like, oh my God, can I help anyone not feel like they're so alone, that they're the only person that's this way, that what it looks like on the outside is not what's going on in here. And the closer you bring those two together is like where the gold is,
Yeah. It's a really challenging, it's a challenging walk. It's challenging path to go down.
You mentioned, you lived for so many years thinking that this self-criticism, that the constant self-criticism was true.
Yeah.
No wonder you wanted to commit suicide. I've been there too. I've been very close. But now that does that, like for me, I will never ever consider that again, because now I get me. Now I don't need everybody else to approve of who I am and how I do things, because it was never in my nature to do things the way everybody else does. I'm still undoing some of the conditioning. I wobbled, as Kristen said, and I'm like literally in the process of climbing out of that. And it's not easy. But knowing really does, there's grief with that. But then there's this liberation after, where you're like, this everything I did, like a past, what they say, when you pass away, you watch your life, like you
a life review.
It. I feel like I did that. I feel like I've done that, and now I have reinterpreted my entire experience through a new lens, and I feel like a certain level of joy and hope that I haven't ever felt before. And it's genuine, and it's not dependent on somebody else's approval. And that's the best feeling, really.
That's an amazing perspective. I would love to say that I was there, but I'm not. Um, I don't know that I'll ever not struggle with the thoughts and just the things and I mean I just as good as I get sometimes I tell people like just I don't forget what you see right now. I'm one bad day away from everything. Like I'm always one like I know it. I've cured. I've worked on myself. I've had growth. Doesn't matter.
We
I'm
never
one
stop growing.
bad
Like we're
day. I
always
know.
working.
I
Yeah.
know. I hope that's something that I can get away with, but sometimes uh it's a tough. Yeah, I'm not there yet. I still struggle.
The
I mean,
wobble.
yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting how we design our lives too. Like I thought, my God, I just don't care about myself. That was what I thought. I just don't care. How on earth? First of all, we cared enough to stay alive, right?
Yeah.
And
If
second
somebody
of all,
loved us to care enough to keep us alive.
yeah, exactly. And when we dive into things, when your special interest becomes something in the mental health arena, that is us trying to find ourselves. That is us trying to find something for us, and we do it
Yeah.
through service to others. And yeah, I finally feel like all the therapy I had that could only land so like it could only get to about here, right? It could not go all the way down into my body because I was masking. I
Yeah.
didn't know my wiring.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all the therapy, all the 15 years of interviews with every freaking therapist on the planet that I could pick their brain, and I created a whole company just so I could say, "Hey, come on my show. Let me pick your brain for an hour," right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
me giving a shit hugely
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
myself. That's when
Yeah.
I saw the evidence. I went, oh, it wasn't, it was more like, oh, wait a minute. You don't actually feel this way about yourself, me. Because if you did, you would not have pushed that freaking hard in
Yeah.
life. So it was like a rearranging of, oh, okay. Because I can go real negative, like real fast.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
at the end of a day when I'm tired and I've peopled a lot, especially
Yeah.
with
Same.
I'll go, like I just said the other day, I don't know if I texted you, Julie, but I went, I could just go back to, oh no, it was to Tom, my friend Tom. I said, I could just go back to it being just me and my mom. Like in an instant, I could take down all my writing. I could just go back. It was so much easier when it was just me and mom. And then I went, okay, honey, you're tired. It's 5 o'clock. You've peopled a
Yeah.
lot. Stop thinking and go take a gummy with CBD
Yeah.
in it and
Mhm.
bed.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
Yeah, for
being
me
that
too,
nice.
nighttime is a challenge. After I've
Yeah.
had a day, even if I haven't peopled, then if I'm tired, that's negative thought. I have to be so vigilant of those negative thought loops. And sometimes they say call somebody, talk to somebody. That's not my thing.
Me
If
Yeah.
I'm
neither.
if
No.
I'm negative, I don't want
Uh-uh.
to put that.
I don't
I
want to
don't want to.
infect anyone. I don't want to
I
Yeah,
infect
don't
my
want to talk to
dog with
anyone.
that.
exactly. So that's what I'll talk to ChatGPT. Then I'll vent it all out, and I'll say or I'll ask for a reframe. This is what I'm thinking, and it will reframe it, and it will tell me something true, and it
Yeah.
helps. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so crazy. I mean, we already have the answers, but we're still searching every day for answers.
Yep.
Like we already have answers, but we're actually looking for better answers. But gosh, it's such a challenging
It's the brain. It's how our brains are wired.
yes,
We just
yeah,
keep going and going and going in these loops. And that's the autism and the ADHD. I have so many friends, obviously, in the industry that I've asked
yeah,
neuroscientists and geneticists, even, different things like, what is that we have to loop and loop and loop? And they're like, because your brain is so wired. Like a friend of mine said, you've got a Ferrari brain with a space observatory on the hood of the Ferrari, and you're just traveling through space, and you
yeah,
need to close those loops. And that's what writing does for me. Like it makes it so that I can fucking let it go finally.
yes,
yeah,
I can't
yes.
do it with
It's
the
like a
person.
release. Yeah.
Exactly. I can do it in my writing, and it closes the loop for me so that I don't lay in bed going,
interesting.
for
Yeah,
hours, which is what I spent a lot of my life doing.
Me too.
Hours upon
yeah.
hours
Same.
of just boom, 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 and then anxiety. Oh, horrifying. Why, what does that make you laugh, Jeff?
Just as soon as your word mentioned, I mean, it's either laugh or cry, right? It's like as soon as you mention the word anxiety, it's like I can cry or I can laugh. All of the things, it's just it's touchy subjects to speak on, I guess.
They are, they
Especially,
are. Yeah, they show you where your edges are for sure.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, the
nice to,
anxiety has been something that's well, again, it's I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know it was a word until I was in my mid 30s, maybe late
Oh,
20s.
wow.
So it's like, well,
I
people
probably
just say, well,
didn't
did you have
either.
anxiety as a child? I'm like, yeah, but nobody told me it was normal. Nobody told me it was anxiety. Nobody told me it was the thing. I just thought, oh, I just can't, I just crack under pressure. I just do this. I just do this and so I didn't know what the word meant, just like autism for so long, for so many years. I was like, wow, all these things have names and other people understand them and other people actually have to deal with some of these things. Like, wow, I just thought it was me.
No. And how does it feel to know that it's not just you?
Well, I mean, it will make me cry.
Mhm.
You know, it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
not good. I don't want other people to suffer, but I do so that they feel like I do, and that way we can be together.
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. And
it's like
eventually it's not suffering anymore, but it takes its time to get there.
one really strange thing for me. It sounds weird to say. COVID was the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
Same here.
Same
And
here.
well, this is interesting. I wonder if it's for the same reason. If I hope so, otherwise I'm going to sound stupid and mean. But when COVID hit, obviously for the first 5 days, oh shit, I'm going to die. They're going to die. Everybody's going to die. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But pretty quickly, I was understanding what was going on. And for me, I guess I can put it this way: for the first time in my life, I felt like I was even. We were at the same starting line as everybody else because for once in everyone's lives, they all thought they were going to die and they had to live with that every day. They had anxiety. They were depressed. They couldn't leave the house. And I'm like, yeah, how's that feel, buddy? Yeah, how's that feel? I've been doing that for 48 years. And the worse people got, the better I was because I've always been one of those things where like I can't work. If we start a race, you're here and I'm here. I'm always going to be behind. I'll finish ahead of you, but I'm going to start behind. But now
You're the
everyone's
tortoise, not
equal.
the
We're
hare.
all covering from the same mental health aspect. And I saw that as this is my chance to get ahead. And
Ah.
I went crazy. I was never in better shape physically, emotionally. I was on top of the world. I was doing amazing things. And that lasted for about 6 months to 8 months. And then the rest of the world started to settle down, less anxiety. They were going back to normal. And the minute they went back to normal, I'm like, fuck, I just lost my edge. I
It sounds
lost my
like
edge.
they
I'm
say
done.
calm in a crisis. It sounds
I'm
like you
done.
stayed calm.
Well, but it was only because everybody else was freaking out. In my brain, I've lived in that freak out environment my entire life. So when you throw me into a life or death situation, I am comfortable. My
Yeah.
brain knows what to do, but nobody else's brain did. And I liked the fact that the whole world was feeling like I lived every day. I loved it. And I didn't want people to struggle, but I really loved it. And I love the fact that for once in my life, I can get ahead of you because if we're even, I can get there. And so it was a weird thing for me. It was the best time of my life. And then the world went back to normal and I lost that edge and I haven't gotten it back. It's kind of been downhill since, unfortunately. So it was a really weird thing for me. I don't know if you have a similar experience.
I
Or
totally
maybe
get everything that you said. I felt
you
that way
do.
too. There's a little spin on it for me. Mine was, oh my God, I have an excuse now to not talk to all these people that want something from me. Thank God I can be inside in my home and no one's going to give me shit about it. I don't have to go, I can go out and I can wear a mask. That
Yeah.
was the best
Yes.
thing ever. Wearing a mask. I don't have to talk to people. They can stand 6 feet apart from me. And for
Yeah.
me, it was like, oh, and yeah, when it started creeping back in and people got more used to it, I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
No,
It's not. I mean,
no, it's not
I
weird. It's
No,
I've been
it's
so
not.
afraid. I've not said that to anybody. I've been so afraid to tell people that I love the fact that they were all suffering.
The slow down. Like that was when I realized like life kind of went slow motion. I didn't have to rush to be places at times.
Yeah.
And my son was home. We were home and we did go and live in Florida for that time because I figured winter in Michigan during COVID
Yeah.
might be a struggle. So we went there and I fell in love with a slower pace. I I I never was super peoply, not for a few years anyway. And so that part didn't bother me. But the slower pace, I was like, so I don't have to get up and run because
yeah.
I did. Even when I didn't have to be anywhere, I would get up and I'd be running for not necessarily any reason. I
Me
found
too.
things or created things to be in a hurry about. And then
Right.
that's when slowness is, I think that's the thing that for me was just, we're not rushing. We don't have to go. And I still kind of, I'm still kind of living that way now.
Oh God, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still lasting effects.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people are so, you mentioned the word COVID and everybody just like so touchy. And I'm like, best thing that ever happened to me
Yeah,
for about
same.
6 to 8 months.
Same. I
And
said no to people finally. I told people, I mean, I had people screaming at me on the phone, demanding that I do more free stuff for them that I would have continued to do, right? Because that was
yeah,
whatever. And I just went, no, click.
yeah.
And I went, oh, why am I only figuring this out now in my 50s that I can just say, I don't even have to say no. I can literally just push the end button
That's
and
it.
Yeah.
done. It was it was so liberating for me. So, and then when people started to creep back in and, oh,
Oh,
Kristen, we want this and we want that now. And I was like, nope.
I
I just
mean,
maintained that.
in a weird way, like part of me is like, you know what? That was the world's way of telling everybody that mental health is seriously. And if you don't want to believe it, then I'm going to make you go through it. Like in a weird way,
Yes.
it
It
was like
leveled the playing field for everybody.
it did.
Everybody had
Yes.
anxiety. Everybody had problems. It
Yes,
was
I
like
Yes.
the
loved it. I
final
mean,
thing that made mental health not be a stigmatized topic anymore. Because guess what? Everybody got anxiety now.
Everybody got a taste.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having a conversation with a friend, and she was just, experiencing anxiety in a really bad way. And she had never done experiences in her life. And like, I wasn't really so much being supportive. I was like, stop. Are you telling me you've never felt this in your entire life? She's like, no. And I'm like,
How is that
this,
possible?
how is this possible? Like this feeling you're feeling, you've never felt before. No. Fuck. Like, good Lord, if I could have just had that card, you know? Golly.
This is
But
a whole
also,
other show, I'm telling you.
it is. But then also the downfall of that was the best ever. And then going to the, oh shit, everybody's even now, slowly dropping off. And that led to the last complete loss of executive function that I had, which was 3.5 years ago. And again, like if I tried to explain this to normal people, they wouldn't understand it.
No,
But
I went same timing, Jeff. I went through this the timeline you're giving. I did the same thing. I couldn't speak, and I speak for a living. I could not string a sentence together. I could not remember the words to anything. I would be like on a show or sweating it. My armpits just dripping down into my not. I wasn't wearing overalls then, but anyway, I just dripping down because I was like, I'm on the phone. I'm on the Zoom with this doctor, and I'm supposed to be knowing what I'm talking about, and I'm a professional, and I'm like, did you understand me? No, okay. I mean, it was crazy.
see, I recognize the behavior because I've lost executive function many times for weeks, months, a year. And so I know that I know what's happening. Even at that time, I'm telling my family, I'm like, listen, I just have to let everything blow it up and rebuild it. What are you talking about? It's reset.
Yeah, same.
It's reset mode for me. What does that mean? It means
Over and
this is
over
all
again.
going to blow up. I'm going to watch it basically just from the sidelines. And in like 8 months, I'll come back in and I'll fucking rebuild and I'll do what I always do.
And you'll do the new thing, and they'll
And
be
I'll
like,
do the new thing. But I mean, that cycle of, I was at that time, I was in California. I was actually living, I should not have been suicidal. I was living on the beach, living my dream, traveling the world. And then a day later, I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't answer my phone. I couldn't go to the mail. I couldn't eat breakfast. I couldn't make food. I just did nothing until eventually my family had to show up because I got evicted because I couldn't do anything so much as pay the bills. They had to pack me up. I couldn't even pack my stuff. They had to pack me up and I had to leave. And it took me 8 months to be able to, my brain for it to start working again. And because that cycle has happened so many times, people talk about skill regression. Holy shit.
I didn't even know
that
was a thing until recently. And again,
every
it's
time
because I've been through it too. And so to know that this isn't something that's
no
just me, it's
surprised.
validating.
I'm shocked that my company, the network, still exists because I just let it. It was hanging on by a paper clip and some duct tape because I just could not.
Couldn't.
I was just like, I am done. I think I eked out maybe 5 shows one year because I just was like, I can't
Couldn't do it.
this. People would come to me, I want to be on the network. No, go away. Sell your story somewhere else. I was just like, I can't do this, but we do. It's anyway, that's a whole other show.
It
We need
is.
to do a follow-up show on this, because this explains a lot to a lot of people about what we go through, what they go through, where we have these massive burnouts because we've been masking so hard and trying to keep up in a race that even neurotypicals can't win in. It is
Mhm.
not designed for
You're right.
anyone to succeed, and especially for us.
Especially
That's
us.
a whole other show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jeff, tell everybody where they can find you, more about you, all that good stuff.
Well, I try to stay out of the spotlight a little bit, but no. So I have a clinic for children with autism. We do ABA therapy in St. Peters, Missouri. Actually, this is a big day because prior to this meeting, I had a meeting with our landlord, and I think we're going to take on another 3,000 square feet, which would be
Nice.
Oh, wow. That's
absolutely
awesome.
insane. So it's a family business. My son-in-law Alex runs the business along with my daughter, and it's something I always wanted to do, let alone have my own family in the business, which is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
That's
And then
beautiful.
aside from that, I founded a platform called Thinks Differently, and it's really just targeted to help neurodivergent, late diagnosed people like live the best life, businesses and real estate and things like that. But it's really specific to the neurodivergent community. So really my expertise in life is like franchising and business. That's what I've always done to make money. And
Right.
so now my thought is I want to bring all of that to the neurodivergent community that haven't had these opportunities.
Fantastic.
And so that's really my focus right now, is like helping other, autistics just navigate life and realize that, like, I'm a firm believer in, I don't care how many bad things you have and how many diagnoses that you have. I can find 2 or 3 or 4 skills that you have that will make you rich. You just don't know what they are and you don't know how to use them. But once you
That we
learn
need. Oh my God.
how to use the skills, like that's the whole thing. If somebody like that's the thing with my cousin, when I had the conversation, I said, nobody's going to tell you this in life but me. And you need to know this ahead of time, because if you know it ahead of time, you can avoid all of that stuff. So really, between the clinic for children with autism, I just spend my time working with entrepreneurs and people that are also, neurodivergent and struggling with life.
So Jeff
so
Think.
yep, JeffThinksDifferently.com.
Okay, everybody, go find his YouTube, because probably YouTube too, but TikTok.
I don't have YouTube yet, but
Okay.
I am on TikTok.
Yeah, the TikTok is phenomenal. Julie, thank you so much for coming and doing this with us.
Thank you for having me. And
Yeah.
Jeff, I really admire your cause. I did from the first time I heard you speak on it. I think it's amazing, and it's an act of healing and service that I admire. And I'm glad you could be here too.
The words mean more than you know. And I appreciate the time to converse and talk. And I love doing stuff like this because I know other people are going to hear this conversation and they're going to say, me too. Wait, me too.
Oh, I'm going to send you so many podcasters on the network. Get ready.
Yeah,
the light bulb. This episode, they're going to be like, how do we book him?
Well, I appreciate it so much, you guys. Chris, thank you for putting this together. Julie, thank you for co-hosting and making me feel very comfortable.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Jeff.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode, and we will have Jeff on again, I'm sure.
Thanks, everyone.
Find Mental Health News Radio on all major podcast platforms. To explore our full lineup of shows and hosts, visit mhnrnetwork.com or just Google Mental Health News Radio. We're all over the place. And be sure to check out our newest show, Lawn Chairs in Space, a different kind of conversation where we explore liminal, freeform discussions with voices in the neurodivergent community. You can also find us on YouTube, Insta, and TikTok at MHNR Network and Mental Health News Radio. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.